DayZ can sometimes feel like a trial and error approach to survival, but it doesn't have to be, because here I'm going to give you so many tips you won't be able to sit for a week. If you like the video, please leave a like or a subscribe, it really helps me out. But without further ado, let's get into the video.
What's up, bro? What's your name?
Oh god, I'm about to be murdered by the awful dodger. Starting off in no particular order. If you run and hold crouch when you approach one of these gaps in the walls, you will quickly run through it. Using smaller caliber ammo is more likely to knock out a player, whereas larger caliber ammo is just more likely to kill them. There are three types of bleed: hands and feet, which is the smallest, arms and legs, which is the medium bleed, and torso and head, and this is the one you need to heal rather quickly. The claymore has a kill radius of around 25 meters and deals cone damage, meaning you can stand quite close to it and not take a single hit. Make sure to always scroll to the bottom of storage if there's an option, because sometimes people hide things right at the bottom. You can drink the entire pot of water without vomiting despite the full icon appearing. This is because even after the icon appears, your stomach still has 1000 extra points of storage inside it. If you find a dead body, knowing the decay structure is important. A dead player without flies means they've been dead for less than 10 minutes. This is a good indication someone is likely not too far away. A dead body with flies means they've been dead for less than 20 minutes. Whereas any longer than this and the body will be noticeably decomposing, all of which can tell you if you should enter, stay, leave, or keep your guard up when you're approaching an area. The infected are very easy to temporarily distract. Using a single bullet can be enough to draw one or two away. Using smoke or flares, or even turning on a vehicle and leaving it on, can bring in a group of infected and round them up from a smaller area. Or using fireworks or grenades can temporarily clear an entire area. If you swim with a broken leg, you'll likely pass out and drown. Sneezing on a player will get them sick too, meaning if your friend is sick, stay well back from them to avoid catching their illness. You can attach detonators to tripwires, making for a much quicker trap and also giving you way more freedom on where you place it. The gun cleaning kit won't work on the crossbow. To repair the crossbow, just use epoxy stick. You can mask sounds of pain by using a single rag as a mouth cover. This also works really well if you're sick and sneezing, or alone and sad at how your life turned out. Remove the suppressor from guns before you enter a building. The narrower corridors will make your weapon raise much more frequently, which is a death sentence in a battle. Stashes stay hidden for around 2 weeks, meaning you can bury something, and as long as you dig it up and touch it within a 2-week period, it can potentially last forever, or until somebody finds it at least. So they'll amass for a much better view. You can hide behind doors to ambush players. Just make sure you position your gun away from the door because it will clip. Players will always check the largest space first before checking behind the door, giving you seconds of prep time. A broom looks like a pointless melee weapon, and well, it is, until you light it on fire. Then it suddenly becomes an easy way to KO a player. You can start a fire with the flaming broom. In fact, you can start a fire with pretty much any flame on the game, including the flare, broom, and blowtorch. You can pour water from one container into another. For example, you can empty your water bottles into a pot if you find it, and then use that water to cook things in. Once you're done, pour it back. The infected won't see you if you hide in a bush, but if you move, they can usually detect you, but this isn't 100%, so be careful. You can easily overwhelm even decently armed players by cornering them and punching. They don't need to be in a corner either, you can stun lock them too, which is a mechanic specifically kept in DayZ to give unarmed players a chance against geared ones. If you find 2 small fruit orchards, you can run between them and keep collecting fallen fruit to fill your inventory with food. This is not an exploit for 2 reasons. Firstly, fruit spawns are a dynamic event and in no way affect the loot economy. And secondly, fruit literally falls from trees. It's a normal thing. You're good. Running on the road will ruin shoes quicker than grass, and running with no shoes will cut your feet faster. Gas grenades also work on the infected, so you can lure them into a single place, see my previous tips for how to do that. You can then set off a gas grenade and they'll just all drop, but it takes a little while, so it's better if they're in confined spaces. Unknown food can make you ill, so be careful when you eat it, and when you do eat it, eat in small increments to negate the potential sickness. If you tie a player up with barbed wire, when they escape, they'll suffer a bleed. You can break the legs of infected and players with some guns just by hitting below the waist. This will make the infected crawl towards you and really mess players up. If you put a barrel outside and open its lid, you can collect rainwater and use it to fill things up like canteens and pots. It's a must-have for any base. You can fill up a gas canister or other containers at a gas pump. You can also destroy the station's gas pumps, leaving a huge plume of smoke and injuring players using the previous tip, or Lord infected. Boiled meat gives you more hydration when you eat it compared with other types of meat, but it does require water to create. If you have bloodied hands and no way to clean them, another player can feed you as long as they have clean hands, meaning you won't get sick this way. When out in the wild, you can create a cooking stand using 3 sticks, 2 short, 1 long. This allows you to attach a pot and cook on the go. Immunity isn't absolute, so small exposure to some things allows your immune system to fight it off naturally. The more food and water you have, the higher this immunity is. For example, eating rotten fruit won't make you ill if you eat a very small amount. Wait a minute and then eat another amount. During this time, your immunity has fought off the bad you received from eating it. I'd say maybe 2 bites and quit. You can get a rope, add it to your hands, and make a rope belt to add some smaller knives. If you have a cough, painkillers can help suppress this temporarily, but will not help you get better. But given that the infected and players can hear coughs and sneezes, this can be a good way to avoid detection in the high stake moments. It's possible to stealth attack zombies with almost any single-handed bladed weapon, including things like sickles. Don't pick up bright clothing. They are an easy way to get killed because they are way easier to see than darker colors. If you put the broom or torch on dirt or sand, they'll be placed standing up, providing more room to lighten the area, which is a cool little feature that is good for base building or lots of roleplay builds. Eat everything you find. There's no point hoarding food. You weigh yourself down, remove space, limit stamina, inconvenience yourself, feed the guy who kills you, risk it getting ruined or stolen or going stale, reduce your potential immunity, and a bunch of other negative things. Just eat it. Food is not difficult to find. It's everywhere. This is a controversial one many people disagree with, but honestly, when you've been in DayZ long enough, you'll know why it's better to just eat it. If you're a newer player and you don't want to do this, that's fine. Play your style, it's your game. But if you're a self-proclaimed 1,000+ hour player and you're still hoarding food for an extra couple minutes of yellow, you probably need to practice the basics, because at 1,000+ hours, even on hardcore server, food shouldn't be hard for you to find. Thank you for coming to my TED Talk. When looking for spark plugs, make sure you really look, because it's common for them to spawn through items or just blend in super well because of their accurate size. To be more thorough when searching for hard to find items, you should always open the inventory. Glow sticks are not really a great source of light, and in some situations can actually hinder you more. Instead, craft a torch using a long stick and some rags. You can add more rags or fat to make it last longer, but the difference between them is considerable. You can also get a small heat increase from using this torch that is around as bright as a standard road flare. Players never look or check places they assume is off limits, meaning you can hide in plain sight on a rooftop and they'll just walk right past you if you're still. Make sure you know all the craftables rags offer, considering they take up no space and make for great emergency bandaging items, which you'll probably need a lot. This is a great way to dispose of those bright clothing pieces you have. If you need rags in a pinch, remember you can cut up your shirt or pants in an absolute emergency to get some. This is useful for if you have no bandages. And remember that pristine or badly damaged doesn't make that much of a difference with regards to healing. When you disinfect rags, make sure you combine to a maximum of 6 to give you the most worth out of your disinfected bottle. Also, to expand on this, remember that you can disinfect even a damaged rag, but if the rag loses a quality status, for example damaged to badly damaged, they will become unsafe to use again until you re-disinfect them. You can craft rag shoes with 2 rags, which don't last a long time but stop cutting. You can also craft gloves, which should be one of the first items you find. A gun cleaning kit can not only repair guns but also gun attachments such as the suppressor, but you'll need an electrical kit to repair the scope. You can craft a leather backpack by combining 2 tanned leather with a leather kit, giving you a dull coloured backpack with 63 slots. And this can actually be done not too far from the coast. The PSO scope has a built-in rangefinder, meaning you won't need to find one separately. I cover so much about this kind of thing in a full sniping guide I will link in the top right. After killing somebody, when looting, make sure you seal yourself in a place to do it if possible. However, when you leave, always make sure you leave slowly and don't just randomly open a door, because there is every possibility somebody has heard the shots and are waiting with their gun locked on the door. This tip also applies to when you're inside for a while. You can be stupid every time and fail, but you only have to be smart once to succeed. I have yet to find that time. You can refill a gas mask filter using charcoal pills, meaning one gas mask filter will last you several more times. Always fish in long grass and never just out in the open, because fishing is a locked animation, meaning you don't get time to respond. You have to finish the animation before you can break free. Any house that has this symbol above the door has one of these speaker controls in. This allows you to communicate with the entire town. Just attach a battery. Not that you should, but if you build a base around one of them, you can pretty much annoy everyone who enters. If you can't stop vomiting and losing health, sitting in a car will stop you from vomiting and losing food or water. The car doesn't have to be drivable, so you can sit in one and wait while your friend returns with a cure. You can put sacks on your own head or the heads of other players, and if they're tied up, they won't be able to remove it, so they'll just have to sit there in darkness. Dragging your guns to the floor and then picking them up is a good way to quietly switch your guns. So if you're in the middle of a battle and you don't want to give your position away, try this. If you go to a river, pond or the sea to fish, drink or wash your hands, remove your shoes and pants first if it's safe to do so, especially around the sea where the water rises with the small jumping tide. This will stop you from getting wet and inevitably getting ill. Using rubber bullets in a 12 gauge is a great way to knock players out rather than killing them, but be careful. If you try it, they act more like buckshot than a slug, so be close before you fire them and always try to use the double barrel. Sewing kits don't just repair clothing, but they're also a good way to heal in a pinch. However, make sure you disinfect them first to avoid infections. Baseball bats can be combined with barbed wire and nails independently to increase their bleed damage, maintaining their lighter advantage and looking way cooler. And the best thing about this is, if they're damaged, adding nails or barbed wire can usually repair it. If you find a car that looks like someone is using it but is missing parts, try searching the nearby area. Sometimes people don't take batteries with them. If it's missing a spark plug, they've probably got it. If it's missing a battery, check nearby. You can set traps in cities around your base and attach smoke grenades to them. This is a good method of not ruining a player's gear with a grenade, but setting yourself up nicely for a sneak attack. It's impossible to stealth kill with a stone knife, but the bone knife does give you this ability, making it super easy to rid your area of the infected. The fire axe can take out the infected in one large swing, and it adds cut damage when engaging with other players, although the shovel is arguably the best way to deal with players because of its incredible shock damage. The fire axe is also worth your time. Building a fire indoors is a great way to disguise the plume of smoke for added stealth. Helmets muffle your microphone's sound and will muffle other players too, so if you can't hear them properly and they're in a helmet, tell them to remove it for better communication. Getting too close to a fire will not only burn you but also damage the gear you're wearing. However, if you touch the fire while using a sit or lie animation, you most likely won't get any damage. Not shifting your gear quick enough can damage the car part, causing it to stop. However, this takes so long to actually do, it's not really an issue, so I wouldn't worry about it when people tell you to change gear quickly. Using anything other than a bandage to heal takes a lot longer. The sharpening stone can be found in outhouses so easily and is honestly such an underrated tool, allowing you to repair pretty much any bladed weapon to worn status. Power lines usually always lead to cities or towns. Great to know if you're easily lost. With patch 125, you'll no longer be able to access things stored within containers, including from the quick menu or when reloading. Placing a landmine in somewhere like a police station or a military base is a good way to catch people and steal their things. The prison doors can actually be used to lock people in with a lockpick. You don't seem to be able to hit them, or at least I've never found a way to, and even unloading hundreds of bullets just doesn't seem to work. Combining the chest plate and plate armor might make you heavier than the moon, but it also kind of makes you a melee fighting king. You can disarm landmines and claymores with a screwdriver, but there is a risk they'll explode on completion. The word completion is used very loosely here. You don't need to kill to loot a player. Knocking them unconscious or tying them up is enough. You can make an improvised filter combining a gas mask and a bottle, but you will need charcoal pills to fill it. But for 69 tips and tricks you might not know, click here. Or for something else, click here. And don't forget, downloading Raid genuinely does help me out. Plus you get a chance to win lots of cool stuff, which is always a plus. But as always, until next time.